Hi and welcome to the All Things ITSM Global podcast. We're coming to you from BMC Engage in Las Vegas. I'm Kirsty McGowan. I'm here with Charlie Betts.
Kirsty.
Carlos Casanova.
Hello, Kirsty.
And we're here with Donnie Berkholz from 451 Research. Welcome, Donnie.
Thank you.
Donnie, great to see a fellow Minnesotan here. Want to talk a little bit about your perspectives. I think you've been tracking the agile and DevOps movements, which I think are some of the most significant recent developments. Certainly as we talk about digital transformation, the need for agility and the increasing flow of technology. Big topics. I think that the ITSM and ITIL worlds are still trying to make sense of what it all means for them. Could you tell us a little bit more about your perspectives on that as you have heard the stories at this conference?
Yeah, so easy question, right? I think about DevOps, and I think it's best to just start out with an explanation so that I can provide my context.
Yeah.
So I think when we talk about DevOps, we talk about a few different pillars. We talk about culture, automation, and measurement. And the difficult part of that is always the cultural shift, right? And I think that's something that's common, whether we're talking about DevOps engineers, whether we're talking about sysadmins, whether we're talking about service management, it doesn't matter. That's the common factor that goes across all of them, and I think that's the thing that companies here are thinking a lot about too. I was at Enterprise DevOps panel last night, and one of the leaders from a pretty large enterprise financial company said, we've been trying to do this DevOps transformation thing, and we're about 6 months in, we're making some good progress, but some people don't get it, right? Some people can't get that mindset of continual improvement. They're always just thinking about doing their jobs, following instructions, and not about how could I make this better? How could I improve the flow? How can I eliminate waste, like in a lean style? And that's very true for service management in particular. When you think about, hey, it used to take 60 days to provision a server or something.
Right.
And I was talking to a company up in Minnesota a little while ago, and they said, hey, we built this private cloud. We reduced our provisioning time from 60 days to 30 days.
Oh, wow.
And they were thrilled.
That's great.
Yeah.
They were thrilled about this. Yeah. And I'm sitting there thinking, I live in the future. I talk to all these startups in the Bay Area, all these software vendors, and we're always talking about things like continuous delivery and microservices and what's the next generation of software. And sometimes it's easy to forget that's not what the rest of the world looks like.
No.
There's this sort of Bay Area bubble of like everybody's in the future. We're all like DevOps, automation, a single sysadmin will have 10,000 servers under their command.
Yeah, and most people actually haven't got there yet.
Exactly.
They're a long way
most
away
people,
from that.
right, like I say microservices, most people are like, wait, what
are you talking about?
do you say there? What is that even? And I don't want to get too deep into the weeds there, but I think that's kind of DevOps cultural transformation is very common here, and it ties very much into the digital theme of this conference, where you're thinking about, well, what does digital mean? And I was trying to figure this out all through the keynote. When I heard the announcement in the first place, I finally trapped some of their execs for about an hour and a half to talk about what is this digital thing, because
and it means a lot of things to a lot of different people.
Exactly.
It's an
Yeah.
infinitely flexible
Yes.
term, which
Yeah.
is why the marketing...
Exactly. So you can DevOps wash, you can cloud wash, now you can digital wash.
Yeah.
So like whatever we're doing, it is digital because it's on a computer, right?
Yeah.
So no problems there. And so, I look at what they say and they say, all right, so we have these sort of 4 different areas, service assurance and whatnot, and we just kind of slap digital in front, right? And then we're done. And it's not that simple. But I got a definition of digital out of them, and I felt like that was an improvement. It was one that I actually bought because it was, the idea of basically automating processes, right, that were done by humans and removing the physical element. I mean, they had a little bit of that story in their keynote with the mobile bank thing, right?
Yeah.
Of, hey, we can do this automatic loan approval process, which is great. And something that I realized thinking about this, this is exactly what we're doing in the sort of DevOps land with things like continuous delivery, right? Because another story that I heard at the same panel yesterday was there's a team trying to deploy an application, and they said, what we need to do so that we can deploy anytime, we just need to have a release engineer on call 24 hours a day, so we can call them up at 3 in the morning.
That's
and have
forward
them,
progress. That is
exactly,
forward progress.
and have them click that deploy button.
Right.
And it's like, well, but like you can do digital transformation there too, right? That's what continuous delivery looks like.
Yeah.
It looks like removing that human, the clicks go from the process, so that you can deploy and then do something automatic if things go wrong, and not worry about calling up some admin in a dark room.
And I think that ties into the whole digital plus whatever, what the next word is, it's that experience, you know. You're doing that at 10 in the morning, and yeah, they went from 60 to 30 days. So the experience got better, so that's good. But is that really the experience we're striving for? You know, and like you said, you come from the San Francisco area. That's not, you know, it's a step along that long journey. But it's, you know, we're trying to get to that experience where we're living the way we do personally in the corporate world. And, you know, as Kirsty said, I mean, there's just a lot of companies that they're still trying to define, you know, or spell digital, you know.
Yeah.
So, you know, how do we get there? You know,
There's a lot of companies that are still trying to work out what a service is.
But if you break it down into microservices, it's easier, right?
Yeah, they're smaller, so you can get your hands around them, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's something that came up in the context of this digital is, you know, one of the pillars they were talking about, you know, human-oriented services design. And the first thing I think of when I see that is the philosophy of service design.
Right.
In part because, you know, Charlie and I are both from Minnesota. We both know a guy named Jess Susna pretty well. And he's talking about how important service design is in technology and thinking about things from the perspective of jobs to be done.
Right. Right. No, I've been thinking of Jeff a lot as we have had these conversations because more and more the whole UX conversation, user experience conversation, it has come up repeatedly during this conference. And I'm starting to, you know, formulate, you know, a little bit of a hypothesis that's where service management needs to go. You know, the convergence of service management and user experience, I think, is very powerful. And it actually, you know, gives some, you know, insight as to where, you know, this community can actually then evolve and add value in this new world. Also, you know, the automation. I mean, you still need some of this automation for the measurement, because, you know, I think the other thing that excites me about the DevOps and Agile and Lean is the focus on end-to-end flow, and that's also been a theme. It's no longer about the little activities and optimizing, you know, the little silos. It's about the end-to-end flow of value to the customer.
Yes.
You know, and how do we accelerate that? How do we understand it better? I think those are all, you know, absolutely where we see this going.
Exactly. Yeah, that's something that I spend a lot of time trying to convince people of, frankly, is, you know, we talk about DevOps, and I just said it's like, hey, these three pillars of culture, automation, measurement, whatever. But the real important part is iterating more quickly between the business and the customer.
Yes.
I mean, that's the important part. Like, what are all these people doing in the middle? They're connecting those two parts so that you can build the right thing instead of building the wrong thing for 18 months and then shipping it. Or like even, you know, talking about Agile, right? You're doing these, you know, 2-week sprints or whatever, and then you ship it off to production when you've done 15 2-week sprints. Like, that's great that you were doing Agile there, but you're not.
Water scrum fall
exactly.
or something. Yeah, that's not.
Well, you kind of touched on some of that, you know, earlier in your conversation about, try to recall, them understanding what the purpose of that is, what they're working on, you know, whether it's that sprint or that, you know, that smaller piece, understanding it. And I think that's where we've kind of, you know, as an industry, you know, an IT industry, if you want to call it that, right, where we've kind of lost. It's just, I'm just providing it to Charlie. What he's doing with it or not doing it, and I think that's where we've lost it. So understanding that it's actually going to go to Charlie because there's this product that our organization needs to deliver. If I understand that better, I may need to change what I do, how I do it. You know, pace, I might prioritize my stuff better, you know, by understanding that. And I think that's where we've lost some of stuff. Would you agree that, you know,
Yeah, I mean, it's, you know, a loss of empathy with the organization, right? Like, people go to work at a company to just be a developer and write code, or to run a service desk. They don't think about
it's
the
a
mission of the
conversation we've
company.
had a few times now.
No, I love, you've probably heard of Don Reinertson, you know, his material on the military doctrine on decentralized control, and the fact that, you know, in well-led military units, you understand commander's intent. You understand what the mission is.
Exactly.
And it's the old story about the janitor at NASA. You know, the reporter came up, you know, and just says, well, I'm just going to ask this janitor what they think. And they said, you know, what are you doing? And the janitor says, well, he's sweeping. I'm putting a man on the moon. You know, and it was a man back then. So, but yeah, I mean, it's, what is the intent? What is the mission intent?
Right, exactly. Because otherwise, you know, you've got this sort of management versus leadership struggle, but internally versus downwards of, you know, you can fail the wrong things really, really well.
You can optimize the heck out of it.
Well, that's the old fail fast.
If
you're going to fail fast, so we can get on and actually do something productive.
That's meaningful.
Right, and part of that is going to be, you know, the organization increasing trust in individual employees and empowering them more. to say like, all right, you understand what we're trying to do here. You've got the intent.
Yes.
Do the right thing to help us reach that intent.
Yes, that's
And
self-organization.
that takes a lot of trust from management.
Well, I think that self-organization question is a big one, and certainly as we look at things like the Kanban movement with the emphasis on, you're continually re-inspecting your operating model, and you're expecting the product teams to continually kind of reorganize and be looking at things like their definition of done. I mean, at some point, that's going to start to intersect these broader enterprise processes that have been defined by frameworks like ITIL. I think it's going to be a very interesting set of discussions as we see that play out.
But isn't part of our problem that, we have organizations that we want you to be risk takers, but don't you dare fail.
Yeah,
Right,
totally
yeah.
fair,
Because
yeah.
we will penalize you and we'll crush you. I mean, it's like,
Yeah.
well, hey, I'm not taking that risk.
That's the culture.
And that's, it seems like, every company I go into that says, no, we're going to, and everybody's like, yeah, I'm not sure,
Right.
they just fired 3 guys for,
Yeah, and it's partially the culture and it's partially the organizational incentives.
Yeah.
I mean, like we always say like, oh, well, you should do this thing with some percentage of your time, and then there's no reward for it.
Right.
It's
you
not
still
part
gotta
of
do
the
your
promotion
full-time
structure,
job.
not part of the salary structure, you're not part of anything. Like,
Yeah.
why would anybody do that? It's
you're
not
gonna-
going to be maintained if
No.
you don't support it in the whole process.
Yeah, you need to reward trying, and that means you're going to have to reward failing at some stage too, because
Or educate failure.
Yeah, educate
I
failure.
mean-
What did you learn from this failure? So where do we go next?
You fail to generate information,
Yeah. Well, thanks a lot for your time, Donnie. It's been a pleasure chatting with you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you very
It's been
much.
fun.
Great.
Thank you.
Thanks.